them fired up and get them to the staging lanes, baby, because 8th Mile Apparel is now carrying Going Bracket Racing merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more can be yours today by visiting 8thmileapparel.com. We appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the Going Bracket Racing YouTube and Facebook pages.
What's up, everybody? Casey and George back here on August 20th, 2024, episode 166 of the Going Bracket Racing live show that comes at you every single Tuesday, always live on YouTube and Facebook. You definitely want to be subscribed to that YouTube channel because we're doing some giveaways from Proform Parts, giving away a water pump this month. All you got to do is be subscribed to the YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and you get in the drawing for all kinds of stuff. A water pump for whatever type of combination you have right now, electric water pump, on your race car, cool it down, put it in the box for a spare. You always need something around there, but all you got to do is click that subscribe button. It's 100% free. We're just giving it back to the subscribers like we always do here on GBR. And the other people that give it to you live every single week are TSR Racing Products. Go to them for your Power Glides, Turbo 350s, 727s, 400s. Everything you need for those transmission parts and accessories, get it from TSR Racing Products, BRG 3D printed parts. He came out with a dial board mount the other day. He can come up with all kinds of stuff, anything you need out there for your race car that you don't want to fab up. You give Brian Garrett a call and he'll get you figured out. And by the way, everything he makes is super light too, so it doesn't weigh down that race car, it doesn't slow you down. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. You want to get stickered up, you want to get some shirts, stickers, brochures, pop-up tents, anything you need for your business. He'll get you taken care of. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Driven Racing Oil, absolutely hands down the best oil to use for those methanol burning engines, especially. And you can use the code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off your order delivered to your door. They also sell transmission fluid, rear end fluid. I don't know, man. I got a little, man, I've been working a lot lately, but Driven Racing Oil, GBR10, that's the whole point. Use GBR10, get yourself 10% off your order. That's my point.
You finally messed up.
That's right. Proform Parts, man. You can go to there and get your shop tools, carburetors, starters, alternators, radiators, all kinds of accessories, water pumps like we're giving away this month. Maybe you don't have to buy one at Proform Parts. Hit that subscribe button down below this video right now. Crew Chief Pro software. I needed a little bit of Crew Chief Pro this weekend to figure out what was going on with my car. But contact Don over there at crewchiefpro.com. Get those dial-ins figured out. 8th Mile Apparel, of course, for all that GBR merch. Get you a shirt like I got, like George has, like a hat like I have on right now. George has that Driven Racing Oil hat that he could have got 10% off of had he ordered that hat. And, of course, again, I'm going to say it one more time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get in those free giveaways. Every single month, we're going to do them all the way through Christmas time. So, guys, here we are. Talking about who knows what this week. We'll just ask George what's going on. Give him a chance to talk.
Might as well call it an open discussion, Casey, because no telling what we're about to talk here today. We're going to kind of be all over the place. So join in, guys. Leave comments in the chat. Got any topics you want to bring up, talk about? Let's talk about it, everybody. Casey, man, not much going on here in Texas. Pretty hot. That's all I got. I really don't have much more to say about it. Been about 105. It's supposed to be like 107 tomorrow or something ignorant, you know. So, honestly, it's going to be 69 degrees because I ain't leaving my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be in the house the whole day. So, maybe around 7 or so, I need to cut my lawn. That's about it. You know how I am about my grass, Casey. It's got to be pristine. It's got to be looking good. You know, I just don't want to sweat to make it happen like this.
That's why I was sending you those, what was I sending you? Those reels the other day of Hank Hill about his lawn? Yeah. That'd be you in my mind. No, it's nice out here right now, man. It's I walked outside today and I couldn't believe how nice it was. Of course, it's how it always works, man. Whenever I wanted to go racing, it was too hot, and everybody was canceling because it was too hot. And now it's perfect weather for the most part. At least right now it is. And now I got a huge project at work, and I think I'm going to be working basically 24/7 until that project gets done to meet the deadline, because that's just how we do things, you know. So at the end of the day, that comes first, and that's the reason we can all race. So you got to kind of always keep that in mind. But George, I gotta drill you with this deal, man.
Uh-oh.
North Carolina, man. Dominate.
Man.
I'm bringing it right.
You are ready to go. Okay, we'll talk about the upcoming races after this comment. Well, go ahead, Casey. Give it to me, man.
North Carolina, absolute domination at TV promotions. Mic drop, enough said.
Mic drop definitely showed out. I don't have nothing to say. I just know there was a Texas boy or two there, and I mean, he got to the semis, so or to the finals. I think did he runner up? Galiti runner up one of them days. So, but it was nice to see old Brandon Lane out there letting go. He was solid. I was talking to my dad on the phone. Brandon was up on the track. I said, "Dad, I bet you he's 005 or better." And he said, "Okay, he's 002." So I won that. I would have won if I'd put any money down on that. But OB Lane doing his thing, man. That was good to see. Casey, I know you know pretty much everybody that had it going on. A couple of young guns, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but one of those old boys, it seemed like he was in the finals or the semifinals every single day almost.
Yeah, well, that was actually two brothers, Austin and Brian Thompson. Same car, but two brothers that are from Jacksonville, I believe, or at least around that area. But yeah, every single person there was either a champion of Galat Motorsports Park at one point, or they will be, I'm sure, in the future. But dude, I've been saying a long time that Galat Motorsports Park, the people who race there are probably the toughest racing that I've ever been around. And I think this is starting to solidify your belief in that. I know that everybody believes that their local series is always the hardest. Everybody believes that. And a lot of them are not necessarily wrong. But, dude, I'm telling you, man, whenever people from Galat go somewhere, they always seem to, at least one or two of them, show up very, very deep in the show. And at this point, it was all team Galat Motorsports Park in the semifinals one day. There was another the following day. There was let's see, how'd that work out? So we figured at Joe Foley, by the way, who just won the 250K, right, was also down to either 5 or 6 cars, who's, I believe, from Mooresville. That's where Doug's from. So I would assume so, because I think that's his brother. Yeah, so they're at 5 or 6 cars. 4 of them were North Carolina the first day. And then the following day at 6 cars, 2 of them were North Carolina from Galat. And then I believe Austin went the furthest. See, he bailed on us, man. He thought he needed to get a job. He moved to like Cleveland or something. I don't know what he's doing. But anyway, great job to all the locals out here. Austin, Brian, Holloman, Jaden, great job to him. Obviously taking his, I don't know if that was his first 50K win. I believe that's one of the biggest wins he's ever had. Right. And then obviously my buddy Lane.
B Lane, man. Austin Thompson's in here. He's saying B Lane was definitely on it on Sunday. Honestly, man, he was hitting the tree pretty much all weekend. I watched quite a few laps that he put down, and man, he was on the tree just like the certified tree chopper that he is. I still owe him a shirt. It's probably like a year and a half later, so I need to get on the ball with that B Lane. But he also said if you've never gone to a TB Promotions race, Austin Thompson is talking here, by the way, to St. George. But he says you're definitely missing out. Obviously, right, Casey, TB he's raising the bar quite a bit, especially for that Midwestern type racing, kind of Kentucky, Illinois, on up into Michigan now. But you know, he's definitely raising the bar for that area. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like we were talking about last week when we had Troy Abercrombie on. TB. I think TB woke up the Midwest as far as saying, hey, man, there's a lot of people out here that want to race and want to race for big money. And there's a lot of people very capable of racing for big money out here that support it. And I think people have kind of hit or missed out in that area ever since Megabucks kind of went away. But people don't realize, again, that big money racing, like Gateway was a hub for some of the first major big money races that were out there. Obviously, that's the St. Louis area, and obviously this wasn't in St. Louis. But my point is, the Midwest, there's a ton of people out there who would like to race for this kind of money, but they can't. They can't do it whenever you're talking about traveling because those guys won't really travel that far, but they will travel if it's within reason.
Yeah, man.
Um,
That area is
Go
packed
ahead.
with racers as it is. You know what I mean? You got Ohio packed with racers, and normally they have pretty fast cars out there too. Number one, Kentucky, Indianapolis, St. Louis area. I mean, the list could keep going on and on and on. Into Missouri, some, where there's quite a bit of racers in the area that just come out and support it. That's why big Megabucks was so big back in the day, Casey. But not just that. Even if mid-state dragway throws a race, guess what happens there? It's packed. It's in the Midwest. There's a lot of racers there. It's just what it is. So glad to see those things going on. I got something good for y'all here in a little bit when we get to talking about upcoming races as well.
Well, I kind of want to talk about Mid-State because they do have an upcoming race that they just bumped up. It was kind of confusing for a minute because it says twin tens, but there's a 20 in there. So
let's just talk about this one now. I'm gonna pull the flyer up, put it on the screen for everybody to get a look at. Obviously, got a lot of love for Mid-State. A lot of good buddies out there at that track that do the day-to-day activities, ins and outs. I believe Mama Gephardt's out there doing something every now and again, and it's just a racetrack that we kind of grew up with a lot of those people, and that racetrack gains the people that we grew up with. That's why you're seeing the Greg Sestes of the world that people just may have forgotten about. Well, you won't forget if you line up next to him. He'll lay it on you in a heartbeat. But that's why people forget about that because it's so small. But let's look at this flyer, Casey. Talking about Mid-State Twin Tens at the top, right? Well, we're going to go ahead and call this one the Fast Eddie Memorial. Definitely one heck of a race if you're anywhere near it to get to. He's bumped up the payment to $20,000 to win on the first day of this weekend. Okay, so that's Saturday, October 12th. You can run for $20,000 to win. I didn't mention anything about the payment, the buy-in going up or any of that because it didn't. Run for another 10 grand and pay the same entry, pay the same buyback even. You know what I mean? So, Casey, man, what are your thoughts on this flyer? I mean, Mid-State.
Well, first of all, the very first thing that you need to see is you're going to run for 20, you're going to run for 10 the following day. Weekend double entry, only $500. So you're talking $125 per entry to run for $30,000 to win.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to find a better deal than that.
Let's just call it trendsetter. This race has to be copied somewhere, okay? Somewhere. I think you throw this race down at a Galat, Casey. You already tell me that day to day, day in, day out, y'all hardly can't park in that place in the first place. But put a race like this out here then. You know what I mean? $125 to enter. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say, isn't there a race involved? Is this the weekend that the race that's involved with this puts an entrant into the OG Million?
Yep, I do believe so. Well, no, wait. That was last week. So again, we're going to get to talking local racing here in a minute, but let's just take our hats off to a local racetrack, okay? The warm-up race this past weekend on a Friday was winner gets an entry into the million. Second place gets, I believe, entry into the surrounding races. And then they paid back money after the fact. So that was a gambler's race, Casey. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember how many people were actually on the list. I'd have to pull it up. But as we always talk, if you put it on the internet, it's going to fill up in a matter of minutes, and that's what happened in the first place.
Well, and what's cool about this is it's one thing to win an entry to a race. It's another thing to entry to a race that you can actually go to, because this is like, for example, if the OG Million was in Alabama or something, you're like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Now I got to sell this on the internet, or now I got to go all the way to Alabama. Gateway is right down the road from this track, so they're giving something away that's actually somebody is really going to use. Like that could be a Donnie Hagar scenario where Donnie didn't win that entry, but he chose to only enter the OG Million last year, and look what's happened. Look who Donnie Hagar is now. Like, I know he was great before. We had Ryan Gleghorn on it. He knows everybody. And he said, man, Donnie's always been great, but this was the thing that really set him off because it gave him the ability to go chase things. Well, now Donnie Hagar wins the OG Million as a footbreaker, by the way, probably the only one that will ever do it. Unless Nick Hastings does it. It's the only person I could possibly see potentially doing it.
Right.
I'm sure there's others. Y'all can be mad at me and leave a comment down below. If you're mad at me, that's fine.
I mean, let's talk about it. That's what we're here for in the first place.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that Johnny Hagar was at a perceived disadvantage being a no boxer. Then he goes off, wins WDRA bracket finals, wins that whole deal. So then he's a world champion over there and has won several things since then.
Right.
This gave him his jump off point to be able to do what he's done since then.
Right.
The OG Million will put you on the map.
100%. 100%. You know what I mean? It's just one of the races that everybody wants to etch their name on. Okay, it's just that it's the U.S. Nationals, as we always talk about, Casey. It's the U.S. Nationals of bracket racing, right? So, I mean, we're on the topic now, and let's talk about another series, Casey, that I know you are very well familiar with, especially based on the prize pack that comes along with this particular race. If you don't know what I'm talking about Flicker Promotions putting on the Latexan Lasso. Going to be brought to you live right here on Going Bracket Racing. We'll be out there streaming this event. But if you're not out there, don't just watch it on live stream. Bring your race cars out there. Enter into the race. Look at it. I mean, it's starting on Friday. You got 5K right off the rip. $100 to enter. Okay. Then we go on Saturday. We got 20. We got Sunday. We got 20. Okay. So, not to mention, this was a points series race. So this is the third of three. This is the last of the races for this particular points series. Casey, talk to us about those prizes, man, if you can remember them.
Oh, yeah. I know that they had 20 prizes that they were giving away to the top 20 in points, and every single one of them I can't exactly remember what everything was. I think number one's an Ezel race car, is it not?
I believe so.
And yeah, which I think I actually just saw a Facebook reel of Johnny might have been working on that car. Well, he was working on the jack, but he might have been working on that car. I can't remember.
Right.
But obviously, Ezel cars, we saw one of Johnny's cars at PRI in the IHRA booth, and that was obviously an extremely high quality car. Everybody would be happy to have that. And by the way, one of the winningest racers in the last 5 or 6 years probably is Johnny Ezel. So somebody who actually knows what's going on and how to make the car work and what to do and how to win in it. So you can have all the confidence in the world that that's a quality race car. But I mean, I know Mosier Engineering, I believe, was giving away a whole rear end. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but I can't remember that the first 15 places for sure, the value of whatever you win is over $1,000 for sure.
Right.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who wins that whole series. And I'm glad that they did something where the winner, the champion, is really going to get something that matters. And I'm pretty sure that Ryan said that the way their points program works, that they do the half points if you don't win first round, which I really like.
Right. Right.
The VMP triple threat version of how points work. So we saw Stevie Dustin, I don't remember if it was last year or the year prior, come from 26th place to win the championship. So if you're in that top 25, top 35, you better be there at that Latexan race.
It definitely be there. I'm trying to remember who I saw. Definitely, I think it was Dilday. Glenn Dilday was all the way down here in Texas. And I asked him, man, what are you doing way down here? He's like, you can't pass up this race. That prize pack, the money on top. And I did good on the first one, so I ain't missing it. You know what I mean? He's just like, I'm coming to race. Right. I expect to see that quite a bit of that.
Yeah, and I say top 25, top 35. I'm talking, you still have the ability to win the championship. You still have the ability to win a brand new Johnny Ezel race car. And you're talking, if you're in 100th place, you could still get in the top 20,
That's right, man.
Anybody who's anywhere involved with that program that thinks they have a shot of getting in that top 20, you better for sure be there. And I know there's going to be plenty of people that maybe are participating for the first time going there just because they know it's going to be a great program. It's always been, I've never heard anything bad from it. I can tell you that so far, and you can watch it live here on Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Yeah,
and I don't think you're ever going to hear anything bad about it, but definitely looking forward to seeing all you guys out there capturing your cars on the live stream. So hang in there, guys. We're going to break into a commercial and give a little bit of time for our marketing partners to get some words to you. Don't go anywhere. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, I don't know what you're waiting on. Get entered into the giveaways, all that good stuff. So hang in there, guys.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
Unleash your horsepower with Proform Super Street aluminum roller rockers. Utilize the latest cutting-edge manufacturing and design processes. The dual contoured body design allows for more rigidity with a greater strength-to-weight ratio, increasing engine power. Super Street aluminum roller rockers are available for a variety of applications and specs for Chevy, GM, and Ford, including pedestal mount, as well as a Chrysler shaft mount style rockers. On the strip or the street, Proform has you covered.
All right. Welcome back. Going Bracket Racing. This is episode 166. Casey and I have been doing this now, so thanks for joining in. We appreciate you guys, your comments, everything that you help us do here, being part of the Going Bracket Racing community. Team 14, Motorsports. You guys been with us for a while. We can't thank you enough. That can be said for everybody that I'm about to mention here. So TSR Racing Products since day one, basically, right, Casey? Proform Parts is out there giving away things for us here at the Going Bracket Racing community. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel in order to be entered. I believe we're giving away a water pump this week, or this month, which whenever the drawing is going to happen. Casey, we still need to discuss that. But Crew Chief Pro out there, Don Higgins always keep me dialed in with Crew Chief Pro. So have a look at crewchiefpro.com if you need anything like that for your racing setup. Driven racing oil, putting the blood in the veins of the race cars. It's the best blood you can put in there. What is the best blood, Casey? Is it O negative?
Oh, I'm just saying that you use the code GBR10, you can get it.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, man. Hey, BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts can make you anything you need for your race car, make it easy to maneuver, whatever the case whatever you need. I'm pretty sure Brian can make it. 8th Mile Apparel, get you some of the GBR merch, some of them Tree Chopper shirts. This is a Door Trucks to the Front shirt. I know y'all ain't seen this one out there, unless you bought it already, but Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. Those boys over at Your Ad Here, George and Casey, give them a call if you would like to join into the community, marketing partner, whatever the case may be. Casey, let's talk about a comment that I would like to say. And wait a second here, because I forgot it again, man. Let me get that out here real quick, guys. And next week, I'll make sure that I get the flyer for this as well. But I keep forgetting old Michael Beard's flyer, Casey, and I gotta stop forgetting that flyer. We've been talking about this jug race. I believe Stone Jug or something is the name of it. And he's saying the Championship Bracket Series events is coming up at Keystone Raceway, September 6th through the 8th. 8,000 in prizes to be awarded at the event, plus 11,000 in prizes for the point series. So, Casey, man, next time I'm going to bring up a flyer, but anybody who's anywhere near Keystone, I believe that's maybe northeast or a little bit out east, right?
Pennsylvania, I believe.
Pennsylvania area? Anybody close, make sure you get in there. I'll get that flyer up here. I'm going to try to find it here before we get off this show, as a matter of fact, and get it up there for you. But, Casey, local bracket racing. Let's talk about it, man, because it's not the same as what it used to be, to the extent of how brave most of us drivers are now. I mean, anybody can kind of understand what I'm talking about, Casey. You and I spoke just briefly on this, but the ability for a lot of us to go out into race cars, dial it, to hold or go dead on, doesn't matter, because if you don't leave that tree, 00 or better, you're going to be in trouble, or don't go better than 00, you might go red, but 00 is where you need to be. In case we talk about cars setting up 5 on a tree. Let's talk about that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, man, there's I don't know really where to start. The title of this whole show is Type Packages at the Local Level. So I guess we can kind of get into that with just saying that obviously a track that you race at week in and week out, you might know, when it's going to pick up, when it's going to slow down. Like we all knew at ET Raceway, when you started smelling the turkey farm, you were going to pick up for whatever reason. I don't know what direction the air was coming from. We always made a joke and said it was because of all that methane in the air. It was going to pick you up. That's what John Falk always said all the time. One of my dad's buddies, not here anymore, but he always told us that. And sure enough, though, it always did pick up. I don't know if it was the methane like he said, but all I know is it picked up. But it's the little intricacies that help you create those type packages. But I think that going off kind of what you said, there has been a trend lately where I don't know what you would call it. It would kind of like be like a be red or be dead type phrase, you know, like setting up so tight that you'd rather be red than be late. And I know that was a thing in the early 2000s. And truth be told, you know, I would say the average racer probably sets up in the 10 range more than likely, you know, give or take 2 on either side. It's kind of obviously everybody knows on here that it's personal preference. Where do you think that your spread is and whatnot? But ultimately, I think that a lot of these younger guys have gotten to the point where they've got a lot braver. And I think rather than setting up maybe 8 to 10 or 10 to 12, I think some of these young guys might be setting up 3 to 5. And the thing I've always thought is that, and Scotty Richardson always said this, and Scotty was never like, maybe he was when he was younger, but at least in his older years, in the recent years where we would be seeing him on Motor Mania, he never was a killer on the tree, really, on average. Like, he was never like, he wasn't like Corey Galletti, who's liable to be 0-0 at any given, like most rounds,
maybe every hit
he wins. Yeah. Corey's low 0-0, something like that. Scotty was more of a, he would rather be green because he could then be in the race. He has a chance to win if he's green. He never had a chance to win if he was red.
Right.
And he was such a great finish line driver and he was always holding so much that he could make it look stupid. And I think the only person who can drive the finish line to his level is Nick Hastings. It's the only person I've ever seen win so many races that they should not. And I'm not saying Nick always can't hit the tree. I'm saying when he doesn't hit the tree, I've never seen anyone win more races when they don't hit the tree than Nick Hastings or Scotty Richardson. They're the only two people that I've seen have that ability to really see what's going on.
Right, right. And then, honestly, guys, it's going racing just locally. It's tough. I mean, like you said, Casey Galat has some of the toughest racers in the country. I put Extreme Raceway right there with it. Like you said, if you go out there and be 12 and see if you leave, because you're gonna leave. You're gonna load your doggone race car up. You're gonna head back home because 12 most of the time, where you're saying, Casey, 12 ain't gonna cut it at Galat. You wanna elaborate on that?
But yeah, man, we've always said at Galat that if you're not 15 total, like that's what's crazy is think about it. 9 dead 9 is 18 total. But if on average, you probably on average at Galat Motorsports Park, you have to be 15 total if you're planning on winning the race. Like you don't have to be that every single round, but a few of the rounds you're going to have to be. And I can tell you right now, about 4th round on, you better be.
Yep.
And it's unbelievable how tight it is out there. I mean, it reminds me of how Gateway was in the early 2000s when it was in the heyday, when I was probably from the time I was about 16 to 20 years old. That was whenever Sesti won the million that year. I want to say like something crazy, like 16 Gateway guys or maybe 10 Gateway guys went to the OG million that year. When it was still way down south, they all went down there, and I want to say at 32 cars, like 10 or 16 of them were still in at 32 cars, and at 16, I want to say like 8 of them were still in, and then Sesti wins the deal. Right. I mean, it's just interesting that, and if you really think about it, it's interesting, but it's really not surprising that would happen, because if someone is willing to race on that level, well, obviously someone who's that dedicated to racing to turn it up and get that tight, well, they're going to have friends because that's all they care about is racing. And then that friend's going to race the same way they are because they know that that's successful. And if you have a big group of guys that's all they care about is racing and that's all they focus on, you're going to have that core group of people at that particular track that's like, well, this is what it takes to win, because we'll just use Greg Sesti because he's won the OG million. We'll use him for example. I know at the time he was really good buddies with Brian Gardner. Brian started racing like that. Brian started winning a lot. The McKegs started winning a lot. Right. Like, because that's what it took, because that's what Greg was doing. And Greg just won the biggest race that there ever is and ever will be in bracket racing. So that's what it takes to win that race. And that's what I need to do. And that's why Gateway got so tough. And I think that's kind of progressed through.
It's progressing. all the way through. I honestly think, Casey, because all of us in the racing and the bracket racing industry watches at least 5 live stream races per year. I want to say everybody at least watches 5 that's in bracket racing. And the only reason why is because either your buddy's going to be out there, it's at your track, so you're in the trailer watching it, or it's the OG Million, which you'll see 5,000 people on watching that one. You know what I mean? So,
in different countries.
Man, what I think you're saying, though, Casey, is the people who win these races, they have a local track that they race at. And so when that person wins a race, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if that person wins a race and then he comes back home, not only does he have a target on his back, but that target kind of spreads to everybody else because, hey, this guy's this good, and if I want to beat him, I'm going to have to lay down laps like he just did. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, essentially, I'm saying that a rising tide lifts all boats in a different aspect of this is what this guy's doing and he's winning a lot, so I'm going to try that. And you don't even have to be in the same friends group because this guy over here is seeing him winning and he's looking at his stats and he knows what he's doing too. So he's doing that. So now you got 5 guys over here, 5 guys over here, and this guy's 5 guys. Now you got 15 guys all trying to race the same way because that's what it takes to beat each other.
And here's another thing too, because a lot of the big money bracket racers, when they go to these races, they get their cars stickered up. You know what I mean? Hey, winner here, winner there, track champion this, that. Stickers all over the window. But then you roll into these little tracks, Benton, for example. Roll up on Benton if you want to, and watch what happens to the time slips. They're going to be ready for you. Period. I don't care if it's because you have one said race or not. Those people are just going to be ready because that's what they do. What else can you do in Benton? I mean, I've only been to Benton 1,000 times, but I can only remember the town in a blink going around that little downtown area to head out to the racetrack, Casey. I mean, there's not much to do out there but go racing. You know what I mean? So
I can tell you one thing that doesn't pass in a blink is that freaking stoplight right off. You get off Interstate 57 right there by the Walmart.
Yep.
And you turn to the left. That thing, my dad's told me, I remember, I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, this takes forever. All those years of us going there. And he said, this is how it's been ever since the 80s when I started coming here. It's always been like this.
Casey, man, I swear, I rode up on that stoplight one time. There was a man, he was asleep in the car. He was knocked out. Didn't move.
Yeah.
He was knocked out in the car.
He
He
got
knocked
time.
out. He was asleep.
You
I
got
knocked
time
on the
for
window. He
that
woke
there.
up, took off. That's that left you're talking about. But Casey, man, it's those things. These people pulling up with these stickers. Motor Mania TV, live streams, everything, where people know who you are, not just because they're trying to get better, just because they know you're going to be in the area. And that's what's happening to the local racetracks. I can tell you, you come out here to Extreme, you better be 15 total. You know what I mean? Just like what you're saying. You definitely better be on the tree or they're going to make fun of you. Okay. A lot of people call Extreme, it's basically a practice tree race sometimes out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tom Worthington, guy who's been racing a long, long time, probably longer than we've been alive, to be honest with you. Really does depend on how much your life revolves around bracket racing. Some folks show up at their local track once every 4 months and don't run anywhere else. And that's the truth, man. Like, you know the ins and outs of that track. And the fact of the matter is that, again, going back to these young guys, there's you and I were talking earlier this week or maybe this weekend about how Galat people were dominating this TV race and they were always extremely deep. I shouldn't really say dominating because they did really good one day and they did pretty good the next day, but it's not like they swept the whole thing.
Right.
But I got to thinking about it and I was like, well, everybody always says they were better when they were younger. Doesn't matter what sport it was. You're better either because you're in better physical shape or in racing senses, in bracket racing senses. I know that I personally was better when I was younger because I had no responsibilities and the only thing I cared about was racing. That was it. I only cared about racing. I went to bed thinking about racing. I hit the practice tree because that's all I was doing was thinking about racing. All I cared about was getting to the next Saturday to be able to go racing. And I think the reason why the North Carolina area is, quote, dominating races, or like in your case, the Texas area, like who dominates it? Corey Galletti,
One of
yeah.
Some names
area.
out here. You got the Pro One guys, Austin Williams and all them. Look, man.
You got Donovan Williams and Gage Birch. I'm talking on like the big money scale, the people you expect to always want. All those names I just said, those people are expected to win one of the races every single major big money race. You know, one of those guys. Well, what do they have in common? They're all young. They're all dedicated to racing. That's all they care about. They're probably putting in some sort of regimen as far as even if they're not, they're just making enough laps. Like I know Gary Williams, I think, said at one point, they don't really hit the practice tree, you know, like they would say in a This Is Bracket Racing thing for people who don't race every single week. Yeah, you want to hit the practice tree, get in a rhythm, understand like, you know, you will tighten up. I've done it. You'll tighten up if you hit the tree more. Well, those guys race enough; they don't necessarily have to in the racing season. Right. And I know Gary Williams has said that on a podcast in the past, but maybe he'll hit it more in the off season. But the fact of the matter is that those young guys are willing to put in the effort to make it happen, and it pays off. Like, for example, Zach Fulcher, that dude owns Xenia at this point. You know,
that's what called it Mr. Cool Raceway or something.
Yeah. And by the way, wins and runners up to himself last year in a door car, and then comes back in a dragster this year and wins that whole deal. And I know, you know, obviously we have an interview with Zach. We were talking about the Mr. Cool units at PRI earlier this year. Super nice guy, very well deserving. I can tell you right now that Zach is someone who's dedicated to his racing program, and obviously it's paying off for him also.
Right. No, man, I think you're right too, to hit on the kind of the younger generation, especially coming out of juniors. I mean, we can give a lot of credit to the junior dragster side of bracket racing right now. A lot of these guys, man, these young and guys and gals, I should say, these young kids are coming out of these junior dragsters and just flat laying it down on people. I remember when Pesnell won a big SFG race. The boy's still a junior dragster racer, got in a big car and beat everybody's behind. You know what I mean? So definitely can give a lot of credit to the juniors, parents who's got their kids in juniors. My hat's off to you guys. You guys are helping keep the bracket racing sport alive in the first place, you know. So
as long as a parent is willing to use a junior dragster for its intention, which is to teach the kid how to race, the junior dragster is a great transition point. And anybody who I hate seeing it whenever dads are dialing their kids' cars and stuff like that. It's supposed to be something to teach them. When I was running junior dragsters, my dad would get the car running for me. I filled it up with fuel. He would start the car for me. He would make sure, you know, the car was maintenance and things like that. But it was a tool for me to learn how to race. He never once, not one time, not from the time I was 10 years old when I started until the end, he never once put a dial in on my car. That was what it was for. I was supposed to learn that. I was supposed to understand, is it going to pick up? Is it going to slow down? And I got beat. And I'm sure there's times that he watched me get beat that he's like, man, I could have had him win that round. Right. But it's a learning experience. It's supposed to teach you how to race. And then what happened? When you get into a big car, then you're actually successful. You don't just get thrown to the sharks and then get your head kicked in and you don't know why, and now you don't like it anymore. It needs to be a learning experience like it was intended for.
You definitely know why after you've learned it that long. I was on the other side of that, Casey. I'm sitting back here watching my dad dial his car. I didn't put dial-ins on it, but I always had in my mind what I thought it would run. I was the track chief. I was the pit friend, whatever you want to call me, without putting any profanity on this show. But I was the pit guy, and so I got to check the tires and check the track temp and put my own thoughts in there, and I kept a little diary. And I think that's what made me get better or understand the sport a whole lot better in the first place, was kind of living vicariously through my dad. I didn't have a junior dragster, but he's out there racing and I'm out there every week. So that's how I get watch and learn, I guess, you know.
Here's a good comment by Christopher Dorn over here on the YouTube side. I'm pretty sure from one of the Luke and Jed podcasts, Scotty Richardson said something similar in an interview and a conversation before. He said, I think racing every single day, every single second, I'm thinking of ways to beat you differently all the time. And that's the thing. Scotty Richardson never could shut off his brain as far as how racing was his life for most of his life. And that guy, I'm telling you, like I said, there are so many races. You just look at the All-Star race last year. There were at least 3 rounds. Scotty Richardson should not have won those rounds. He won those rounds because he's Scotty Richardson. And I'm not saying because his name is Scotty Richardson, I'm saying he made those rounds happen. He made you, he gave me a theory that I've talked about on this show, and I don't know how he would do it, and I don't know if anyone understands this, except for him. But I really believe that there are times when Scotty Richardson was racing that I think he may have been holding so much that he wanted to be 20 on the tree. Because and I don't know why, and you would think it puts you at a disadvantage, but I think there was a way Scotty had figured out that he could work a race and do something where he wanted to actually not be better than you on the tree. And, you know, at this point, we'll never know what that was. Maybe he told somebody, maybe Edmund knows.
Right.
But
likely.
Yeah, that's something you will never see another racer like Scotty Richardson ever again.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that 100%. I don't disagree with that at all, man. So, Casey, man, coming up on 5 o'clock. Been relatively short show today with us having to start a little later than normal. But what we got in closing today?
Not a lot, man. I've been working so much lately that I haven't really been able to pay a whole lot of attention. I'm gonna be working a ton for the next month, seemingly, as far as that goes. I'm gonna bring the Nova out to Galat this weekend. They got a 2-day race, putting in Matthew Medlin in that car. See if he can't do some good in it. He had some things come up with his stuff, and figure, you know, he's just as good as option as anybody, man. That guy can let go, and he can run the number, and he can see the finish line. So if you see Casey Beckmeyer on that car this weekend, it doesn't look like me in there. That's because it's not. So you all better watch out.
Right. Yeah, man. I just seen that. I guess Benton increased their purse. Casey, did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Says once Benton increased the purse, the racing got a little tighter. That's what Jim Balkert's saying. I guess that would make sense. You put the money out there. You're gonna get a lot more cars to show up. Bet you the same thing happened at Mid-State. You know what I mean? Putting 10 grand out there this many times. It's gonna be some tight racing going on. My dad said he was 0006 red to the old boys 000 dead 4. So I mean, what do you do? That's all I got. That's all I got, man. So, well, on behalf of GBR, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, listening in on the podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook and you haven't gone to the YouTube channel, go for it. The next picture you see will be what we're going to be giving away this month. So, without being subscribed to YouTube, you do not get entered in what I call free. That's the best F word in the whole dictionary, sir. So, on behalf of GBR, thanks for joining us. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good one.